Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do something a little different here at the channel. We're going to do a short video essay. This is an essay about writing while employed, or how to write books and pay rent at the same time. What has happened is my March-April edition of Poets and Writers magazine has arrived. There you go. You can see the cover, what that looks like. And in this edition, on page 55, yes, on page 55, we have an article from author Erin Gilbreth. It is titled, Earning a Living Outside of Literature. And you guys, I saw that headline and thought, oh my gosh, that is exactly what I tried to pack into my new business book, Capture Your Dream. Okay, stack real world goals, develop your dragons, and thrive beyond the 9 to 5. That little subheading, thrive beyond the 9 to 5, that is exactly what we're talking about in earning a living outside of literature. Any entrepreneur, no matter what industry you're focused on, any entrepreneur or creative who has the day job to survive, if you've got that extra something that you want to work on the side, that is your thing to thrive beyond the 9 to 5. And we creatives, we authors and writers and illustrators and painters and poets, we creatives, we have that little extra thing that we need to do, we've got to do to thrive. But boy, most of us have got to have that day job to survive. I do. I've got to have the day job to pay my mortgage, to keep the lights on, to buy food for my birds. I've got to have that day job. And not just because I need the money to pay the mortgage and the insurances and the taxes, that kind of thing. I don't just need the money for that. I need it for peace of mind. I'm one of these type A personality people that I've got to have that security blanket in place. Because if it's not in place, I'm going to be chaos. I'm going to be chaotic and crazy. I'm going to lose my mind. I've got to have that sense of security. Got to have that there. And that is also something that Erin discusses in this article. So nicely done. So let's talk a little bit about Erin. Let's give his bio before we dive into this, okay? All right, Erin Gilbreth is a journalist and essayist. He has written for Harper's, The Atlantic, Adventure Journal, and the Dublin Review. And his environmental writing for Red Canary magazine won a 2024 Los Angeles Press Club Award. His newest book is The Heart of California, Exploring the San Joaquin Valley. That's from Bison Books in 2020. Now, he starts out right at the beginning in the lead, talking about an interview he did with prolific author William Vollmann. And Mr. Vollmann gave him a piece of advice that has stuck with him. That advice was, don't write for money. You guys, that makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about that. Let's break that down a little bit, because some writers out there are going to be like, oh my gosh, you must write for money. Yeah, how else are we going to survive? And there are some people who say that you're not a real author until you've made some money off of your work, which I don't ascribe to that. But let's break it down. Let's talk about it a little bit, okay? So one piece of Vollmann's advice struck me. Don't write for money. I'm going to tell you guys, I don't creative write for money. That's not my why. Okay, everybody who is a creative person has a different why for their creativity, for why they're producing their creative work. Different people, like if you're writing a screenplay, your why might be that you want to get that screenplay written so that you can submit it to different contests so that you can win some awards. Your why might be that you want to get that screenplay written so that you can have actors act it out and you can film them acting it out and you can put it onto a channel like this one, like a YouTube channel. Your why might be that you want to get that screenplay written so that you can submit it to a producer in Hollywood so that you might get that big break. That might be your why. Everybody who is a creative has a different why behind what they're doing. If you're writing a novel, your why might be that you want to get paid big money in an advance from a traditional publishing house. That might be your why. You might be writing for money. And that is fine. That is valid. That is okay. I'm not knocking that. Heck, if you're going to get paid for it, I'm not knocking that. But there are some people whose their creative desire is not just, I want to make a paycheck off this. That might not be their why. And I don't want to put down anyone who is finding that their creative energy isn't to make a bunch of money. Their creative energy is to get the story told. Their creative energy is they want to get the characters out of their heads and onto a page. Their creative energy is they want to get their characters onto a Patreon channel where their patrons can read the next installment in a story. If that's your why, I applaud you. If you're a creative person and you're doing the creative thing, keep doing it. I applaud you for that. It takes gumption to do a creative thing and to share it with the world. Keep going. Okay, but let's talk about the creative writing for money. I personally don't do the creative writing for money. If I was doing the creative writing for money, I would have gone insane by now. My writing for money comes from my day job. My day job, hold please. My day job, I'm the editor of a construction publication. There's a glare on it because my day job is not editing videos and doing lighting. My day job is editing a construction publication. This is Asphalt Pro magazine. I'm the editor of this. I do write articles for this. I write the editor's column for this. I edit articles in this. I ghostwrite articles in this for experts in asphalt. Just because you're an expert in paving or mix design or production of an asphalt mix doesn't mean you're an expert in writing about it. So you turn to someone who is an expert in writing, and that person will write your stuff for you. So all that to say, my day job is somewhat creative in the writing department, but it's writing for a very technical venue, a very technical publication. That's the day job for me, okay? And that day job is what keeps me sane, if we can call this sane. Right? The day job is what gives me that sense of security, that steady paycheck that pays the mortgage, that steady paycheck that lets me pay for a health insurance premium, right? Okay. Be tracking with me here. And that sense of security is something that Aaron talks about in this article. And I identified with him so much in this article as he was talking about that sense of security. In fact, I wrote down a key statement in his article for me. He says, it removes the anxiety and guilt of struggling in the creative economy, and it still leaves me enough mental energy to write my stuff on the side. And he's talking about having a full-time job that's not necessarily in the literary world. He's not writing a literary masterpiece in his full-time job, but his full-time job lets him write some reports, lets him write his emails, lets him write things that need to be communicated to others. He does have communication in his daytime job. He must employ that skill to work at his full-time job. And that's awesome. But it still leaves him enough skills, enough creative energy that when he gets home, he can still, what does it say? Have enough mental energy to write my stuff on the side. I saw a presentation once where it was explained that we all of us creatives, we have a well from which we pull all of that creative energy. The writing that we do, even when we're doing writing for marketing, we're pulling from that creative well inside of us. Okay, so if you're at your daytime job and you need to write a press release, or you need to write a report, or you need to put together a politically correct email to a client, you're pulling from that creative well to make that a polished email, or to make that a clever and clear report, right? You're pulling from that creative well. Well, if you do that all day long, and then you get home in the evening, do you still have that creative stuff in that well, or has the well gone dry, or is it low? And Aaron still has the mental capacity, the mental energy enough mental energy to write my stuff on the side. He's still got creative water in that well. He has found a good balance. And that's awesome. That is wonderful. And so this article, Earning a Living Outside of Literature, shows not just his map to success, but he gives some other examples from other authors and poets and a publisher, in the publishing sphere as well. He gives some other examples. And I think I wrote that down. Let me see. Yeah, Aaron lists authors, poets, and a publisher who have day jobs aside from writing, poetry, and running a publishing house. And I want to give an example too. The example I want to give is of Steven Zimmer. He is the publisher and editor at Seventh Star Publishing. And that's on page 78 and 79 of my book. I want to talk about Steven for a minute. So here's an example. More recently, my new Choices series publisher, Steven Zimmer of Seventh Star Press, ended one of our phone calls saying, "Stay relentless." He's got the right attitude. He has the dragon of persistence in his soul. Steven's day job intertwines with his dream. As the publisher and an editor at Seventh Star Press, he's able to work within the industry he loves. And here's his quote. "The dream is storytelling," he shared. "I'm working in the sphere of storytelling, whether that's editing, publishing, or working on the Imaginarium convention. I like the fact it's all connected, but right now I must provide more services in the industry to make a living." For Steven, the good dragon he nurtures is resilience. And he quotes, "My dragon is the one that stays relentless, no matter how depressing things might get around you. The survivor with an eye toward moving forward. I would describe my dragon in that form." Now, other than authors and poets and publishers, Aaron talks about the way his dad encouraged him. He had encouragement from his family, from his parents. And he quotes here, or he says here in the beginning part of his article, "My dad always encouraged me to make my living by monetizing something I enjoyed." And then on the next page, he gives the example of novelist Marie Myung-ok Lee. Now, she did not have the encouragement from her parents in the literary field. She didn't have the same encouragement that Aaron had from parents. I also did not have that same encouragement that Aaron had from my parents. My parents and Lee's parents were encouraging us to go for that day job security. And I don't want to imply that Aaron's father wasn't encouraging him to go for day job security. I didn't want to imply that, because his father was actually encouraging him to make a living by monetizing something he enjoyed. What I want to imply is that Lee and I have something in common in that our parents were encouraging us toward that day job stability and security that reduces anxiety, right? Luckily, Lee and I both took on that creative thing on the side. Now, Lee was a little bit more surreptitious about it. Her example that's in the article shows how she sort of like found a way to hide and sneak and get that extra creative writing stuff in. She was a little bit more surreptitious than I was in that. So did I write down? Yeah, I identified more with Marie, having to hide her writing from her parents. And I gave a bit of an example of that in my book on page 33. In my book, I didn't go like airing dirty laundry or anything like that from the past. I didn't call out anything drastic or crazy. I just explained that I made the college compromise. And I understand now as an adult what my parents were trying to help me do to succeed and to get that day job survival, to get that day job security. All right, so in chapter 2, lessons from a kid's dreams turned to realism. And I write, when I was in high school, my parents worried about my future. While I wasn't a bad kid, they feared the worst. I was a teenager after all. I had an unhealthy interest in the music on the radio and spent far too much time in my imagination, creating worlds for imaginary characters and creatures to go on epic adventures. Those artistic things were not conducive to selecting a high value degree at an in state university that would afford me a comfortable career. Thus, my parents discouraged the artistic things. One day, my father brought home What Color Is Your Parachute by Richard N. Bowles and told me to use it to help find direction for my life. The adult me can recognize lessons and ideas of use in such a book today. Circa 1985, the 15-year-old Sandy was horrified by what a lifetime of meaningful work and career success truly meant. I envisioned my parachute as pitch black, heavy, suffocating canvas with thick, naval quality ropes tied to anvils a cartoon coyote might throw around. I don't think Mr. Bowles would appreciate me saying this, but at that tender moment in my young life, the book did more to damage my sense of purpose and outlook than my sixth grade math teacher who had drawled, "I'm appalled at you," whenever I had answered a problem incorrectly. Maybe the color of the parachute was the wrong question for a creative person who saw symbolism in all things. I envisioned the parachute as an unopening pack strapped to my back as I was shoved out of a plane into an expanse that offered careers in which I had no interest. I didn't want to go into hydroengineering or quantum mechanics or a business call center. I wanted to write books. So that kind of shows my parents wanted to help me. They wanted to push me in a direction that would get me into a good college, thus a good job, thus a good career, so that I wouldn't have to struggle in the creative economy that Aaron writes about. And what Aaron points out in his article is that, Volman was saying, don't write for money. Okay? If you can, as a creative, as an entrepreneur out there, get that day job to survive, and then do the creative writing to thrive. Do the creative writing on the side. Let that be the creative, the fun, the exciting, the extra, the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, the thing that makes you excited and happy, the extra. And it says here, Aaron explains, he says, I've made peace with the reality I'm never going to be the guy who sold a book to a big New York publisher. And this personal paradigm shift has illuminated the brilliant facets of Volman's advice. Making a living outside of the literary world empowers many artists with health insurance, mental energy to write, and relief from the worry of where your next check will come from. And isn't that great? Let me read that sentence again. Making a living outside of the literary world empowers many artists with health insurance, mental energy to write, and relief from the worry of where your next check will come from. You guys, that is so vital. That is so important. That is so real. I mean, that may sound just like gritty realism, but it is the truth. It is real. In today's society, there are those fabulously lucky people who work hard and they get that lucky moment, that lottery winning moment where, yes, an agent can sell their work to a big five or some fabulous thing. And yes, they get that, 6-figure deal, advance, royalty, whatever. They get that big moment. And yes, those folks can be in the literary world with that can pay the mortgage now. That can pay the health insurance now. That can keep the lights on now. And I applaud them. And I hold nothing against them. I celebrate and I applaud them. Okay. But there are so many more creatives who are out here struggling and just trying to make it work and trying to make it go. And those folks still doing it because they love it, but they're not making the money at it. They're not writing to make money. They're writing for the love of it. They're writing because it is the joy and it is the thing that bubbles up out of your soul, and you've got to do it or you'll go insane, right? Those of us doing that, we got to have the day job to survive. And Aaron Gilbreth shows us that in this article. It's basically 2.5 pages of showing us how he has done it, how these other artists have done it, how it can work, how it can be, and how it can be lovely and wonderful and and not anxiety-ridden stress. Now, if you are a creative person out there and you heard something in this video essay that you agreed with, share in the comments below what about it you agreed with. But if you heard something that you disagreed with, which is highly likely, share that in the comments below. Let's get a discussion going. Let's talk about it. Is there some part of the freelance work that you have seen just take off? Is there some aspect of freelance writing or literary world writing that you think could be leveraged to be the full-time job for any one of us? Talk about that. Share it in the comments below, because you guys, that's awesome and great. Share what you know, share the good things. You guys, in the meantime, put a thumbs up below for writing books and paying the rent at the same time. And thank you so much for tuning in.